It's time for the Hockey Writers Grindline, a weekly show covering everything Detroit Red Wings. Brought to you by our own iconic top line of Wings writers. Sit back and enjoy the grind.
Welcome to the Hockey Writers Grindline, brought to you by the Morning Skate, the Hockey Writers morning newsletter that is jam-packed with the best hockey stuff on the planet. Sign up today at morningskate.io for free delivery to your inbox Monday through Friday. Also, drop us a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay on top of all of the best Hockey Writers content. I am your host, Kyle Knopp, and today I'm joined by Devin Little and Matthew Zator. And if you can tell which of the two of us have had the flu this week, you win a prize. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's been a week in Vancouver here, and I mean the Canucks won their first game finally. So, but I'll mention that later. But yeah, doing good overall.
Excellent. And Devin, how are you, buddy?
Like Matt said, it's been a week, but we are here. The weekend has arrived. It's Michigan State weekend, so let's have some fun.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's jump right into it. And Matt, I'm coming to you first because this is something you've been dying to say for weeks. What is your one good, one bad this week?
Well, my good, the Canucks won a game.
Yeah.
They beat the Seattle Kraken. I mean, accomplishment. It's an accomplishment, I guess. I mean, the Kraken, the Kraken are they're better than the Canucks this season so far. So, I mean, they had 3 wins when they're coming in. So, and the Canucks had none. So, I mean, the game was good. It was really, really high energy. Had 3 fights in the game to start. So, very entertaining game to watch. And the Canucks, I mean, even so they won, they still made it interesting at the end. And had Seattle score in the last couple minutes, and the empty net goal was the one that won the game. So
yeah, it was
some work to do.
It was a really good game. I did not stay up to watch it, but I watched the recap of it, and holy cow, I don't think I would have survived through that game if I were a Canucks fan.
Yeah. It wasn't over. Like I'm watching with my dad, and I'm like, Garland scores the empty netter, and my dad's like, it's not over yet.
Too much time.
Too much time.
Do you have a bad this week, or are you just riding high on that one good?
Riding high on the good. Well, I mean, I don't really have a real big bad of the week. I mean, the bad was probably the Canucks losing the games before that. I mean, going to the point where everyone was kind of freaking out that Boudreau's on the hot seat already,
throwing jerseys on the ice,
jerseys being thrown on the ice, and a whole bunch of bad before that. But that one win, hopefully
it races it all.
The snowball. Hopefully it starts the winning streak, because they play Pittsburgh tonight as we record. So it's a tough team in Pittsburgh. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge win for the Canucks, and every winning streak starts with one game. So hopefully this is a step in the right direction for Vancouver. All right, Devin, over to you. One good and one bad from the past week.
I'm going to start with my good, and that's got to be Dominic Kubalik, who's pacing the Red Wings right now with 10 points in 7 games. Obviously, we talked about him on the show. Like, hopefully he can recapture his magic from his first year in Chicago. Well, if the early returns are any indication, buckle up, because Yzerman may have found himself a gem. Good on Kubalik. He's really showing some good chemistry with Larkin, and obviously that's a top line center, so if you can establish some chemistry with that, you're going to put up points. I'm really excited to see what he does for us this season, because like I said, if this is any indication, he might have a big old year. That's look great at Stevie Y. My one bad is going to be Michael Rasmussen being suspended for 2 games for accidentally whacking David Krejci in the face with a stick. Now,
but obviously on that elbow to the face of Veleno.
Yep. There's so many different angles we could come at with this one. There's the Veleno hit. There's, absolutely Rasmussen needs to be accountable for a stick, and that, that's a penalty every day. But 2 games, really?
That's weak.
And that wouldn't even be one game if it was up to me, but maybe I'm just completely biased, but I don't think I am in this situation. So yeah, bad suspension for Rasmussen, and that's setting the Red Wings back. And lo and behold, they're missing like half of their forward core now because Rasmussen's out, and we've already talked about who else is out, and Sundqvist is out now too. So they added a lot of depth this offseason, and it's already being thinned out. So
yeah, I that was such a bad call in terms of like needing a suspension. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Give them the penalty. It happens, whatever. But a blatant elbow to the face right in front of the ref with zero call and not even a hearing or any type of looking back at it. Like, it's just, we could talk all we want about Boston favoritism, but it certainly looks that way with these couple of calls. So I'm going to also say my good this week was that 5-on-5 play against the Boston Bruins. I thought the Red Wings looked really, really good at 5-on-5 against a team that should be outmatching the Red Wings at all areas of the ice. But then on the flip side of that, the penalty kill would be my bad, only because when you play an aggressive style of penalty kill like the Red Wings are trying to implement, it works against most teams. But when you play a team that has 5 guys that can move the puck and can score from anywhere on the ice, you tend to get overmatched, and they find the soft areas of the ice very, very easily. And my biggest example was Hronek on the PK on that first one, when he missed his switch and ended up on the strong side when he was playing the weak side D, and gave Marchand all day to walk down the back door, in the grade A chance area. Like, Husso had no chance on that one. And that was a bad switch, a bad play all around. And that kind of got the snowball rolling in the wrong way. So those are my good, my bad. We'll definitely talk more about this Boston Bruins game coming up. But before we do that, let's talk about the week that was. And we're going to talk observations and takeaways from this past week of Red Wings games. And if you haven't, make sure you check out Logan Horn's article that came out today called Red Wings Weekly, Reality Check in Detroit, in which he goes through all of this. So we are going to discuss this on the show. And Devin, I'm starting with you. What are some of your thoughts and observations from the Red Wings games this past week?
Yeah, we'll start backwards here. We'll go in reverse. We'll start with Boston, and we'll say that I agree with you, Kyle. I thought their 5-on-5 play was very much improved. And that's good, because that was definitely a problem for them in basically every other game except for that one. And then on the flip side, there's their special teams, which was like their bread and butter for like pretty much the entire part of the season, is what doomed them against the Bruins. And I guess what I'm trying to say there is that 5-on-5 needs work, but it looks like it's heading in the right direction. And then special teams has been phenomenal. And then it kind of just got lit up in that one game. So I hope that it's kind of just, they face the Bruins, and it's not like a sign that things are unraveling. Also, I think that you're seeing just about everybody you want to see produce. Like, everybody that Yzerman brought in over this offseason is like at or near the top of the scoring list, which is, that's exactly what you signed them for, right? Mm-hmm. But then also, and this kind of is a continuation of something I said last week, but guys like Raymond and Seider, they're not at the top of that list. And in fact, you might even say that in the case of Raymond, you're starting to maybe get a little worried. He's kind of doing that Philip Zadina thing where it's like, he's doing a lot of good stuff. He's creating chances, but they are not going in the net. Mm-hmm. And in order to, have success and be productive, they have to get in the net eventually. So I think that anybody who's panicking right now about the Red Wings really shouldn't be. You're not even 10% into the season yet. But I also, it's clear to me at this point that this team still has a lot of work to do. I think everybody on the team knows that and is, honest about it. But after kind of riding the high of that 5-game point streak to start the season, I think these past few games have been a bit of a reality check. It kind of really shown the Red Wings and their fans that, hey, this is not going to be smooth sailing this season. It's going to be ups and downs, just like we were talking about heading into the season. But nothing quite proved that like the game against the Bruins, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. It was a lot of built up hope and good feelings over the first 5 games when they hadn't lost the game outside of regulation. And so, scoring points in every single game, first 5 games of the season, like, yeah, it's easy to get drawn in and really kind of building on that hope. But we knew this was going to be a tough season for the Red Wings, and it's slowly going to start heading back to the norm, right? Regressing back to the norm. So it's only fair to say that it's going to happen, and that there's going to be spurts like this where the team is just going to have a few hiccups. So it's, the fans need to keep that in mind. I saw Daniela Bruce get into a Twitter argument with a fan the other day because of, she was picking out some bright spots for this team, and a lot of people wanted to panic really early. So it's still early in the season. Like you said, game number 8 tonight, if you're watching this on Saturday, game number 8 tonight, that's the 10% mark of the season. So still a ton of hockey left to be played, in which case, anything can really happen. All right, Matt, I'm going to come over to you now. The week that was, what were your observations and takeaways from this past week of Red Wing games?
Well, I mean, the biggest one that I saw was their special teams is a lot better this year. I mean, it was up and down throughout this past week, but special teams seem to win games a lot of the time, and you need to have at least good one of them being good. And their penalty kills looking a lot. I mean, minus the Bruins game. The Boston Bruins are really good. So, I mean, that's, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But so, I mean, and the penalty kill is something that needed to be better, and it has been so far. And Derek Lalonde's system seems to be something that's working so far, especially on the penalty kill. Another one is Kubalik. Like Devin mentioned in the good. I mean, this guy, he scored 30 goals in this league before. And he's showing that he can produce. It's just, is it sustainable? Is it something that's going to be able to do all season long? We'll have to see. But this past week was, heck of a week for him. I mean, 3 goals, 7 points. So, I mean, that's a pretty good week, to be scoring. And, he's fitting in on that top line, which is another big deal. I don't think a lot of people expected. Were we talking about Kubalik on the top line? I don't think we were at any point this offseason. So if he can keep that going, that's another big plus in the, in the win column for Yzerman this offseason. So overall, I think the week was pretty good. It has a reality check. There were some ups and downs, but I mean, that's going to be expected for this team. I mean, that's not everyone was expecting them to be very good, even to start the season. And they've proven everyone wrong to this point. And they have some ways to go, but a lot of positives so far this season. This week is basically reflecting that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, my other thing with Kubalik is we talked about players that needed to step up in Bertuzzi's absence and Vrana's absence. And Kubalik was one of those players who were like, well, maybe he got some first line time with Patrick Kane and really excelled in Chicago. So that's a potential to be there. And he has really jumped in and made his presence felt. And that's what Yzerman and the Red Wings really needed to see from him this year. So I think that is my biggest observation to take away from this past week is Kubalik just really fitting in and filling in on that top line and being that, that point producer that the Red Wings were going to be without Bertuzzi and Vrana, and now Rasmussen and Sundqvist out. So Kubalik really coming through has been a huge bright spot for this team. In terms of all the other observations and takeaways, I really can't go against Logan Horn. So I'm going to direct you back to his article, because just me regurgitating that is not going to do much for as well as he wrote that. And make sure you check out the duck and goose analogy, because that, as we were talking before we started recording, that probably was the best part of that whole article there. So let us know down below what your observations and takeaways were from this past week, and what you do agree with or disagree from Logan's article. All right. Well, we keep mentioning it. This Red Wings game against the Bruins had been circled on the calendar for quite a while, especially by you, Devin, as the first real benchmark for what this Red Wings team is going to be this season. Now, did this game show that the Red Wings aren't quite ready to hang with the big boys yet? I want to get your thoughts. And Devin, I'm going to come to you first again.
I can't imagine why. So it's interesting, right? I think what that means, we've kind of already said it a couple of times, but let's take stock of where we are in the season, right? We're not even 10% of the way through the season. It's early. Some things are working, some things aren't working. That's what you get every season in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I think that yes and no, to answer the question. Do I think this shows that the Red Wings aren't ready? Yes and no. I think that to kind of reiterate a point we've already made, I thought their 5-on-5 play was a lot better. And I think that, special teams are what usually, makes or breaks a game, but also you don't stand a chance if you can't at least tie a team at 5-on-5. And for the longest time over these past few years, while the Red Wings have been in the basement, they haven't been able to keep it even 5-on-5. So for them to, kind of go blow for blow with the Bruins in this game, I think that's a promising sign. I think it shows that they are making progress in the right direction. And, like I said, it's still early. So, next time they play the Bruins, they might even be better. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So do I think so? I think right now, as of October 28th, 29th, when you're watching this, or beyond, I think that no, the Red Wings are not ready to hang with the big boys of the Atlantic Division. But I don't think anyone expected that they would. But I do think that from what they showed just against the Bruins in this one game, I think it shows some promise. And I think it shows that, as they continue to face the Bruins throughout the season, because they are division rivals, so they are going to play each other quite a few times.
Mm-hmm.
They very well might take one or two from Boston, depending on how they continue to progress this season. So, no, they aren't ready to hang, but they might be by the end of the year.
All right. I love that answer there, Devin. Matt, over to you. Did the game against the Bruins show that the Red Wings aren't quite ready to hang with the big boys yet? What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'll point to this right away. As you take away those 3 power play goals, it's only a 2-1 loss.
Yep,
so, I mean, if they score on one of their 5 power plays, you're right there. And that's where it is. I mean, even strength, like we mentioned, even strength numbers were good. So, I mean, if they cleaned up their penalty kill in that game, it's a totally different game. And that, I mean, you can say that about any game that you lose the special teams battle in. I mean, if you scored 1 goal on power play and didn't allow 3 or whatever, you're probably going to win. And that's happened a lot in Vancouver here. And that's, a lot of experience in this over the last 2 seasons. So, penalty kill's massive. So if you can kill even 1 or 2 of those penalties, you're a lot better off. And that's what the Red Wings, I think that's the biggest thing they need to fix and playing against the Bruins or any team, any contending team, because most of those teams have good power plays. So if you can kill those penalties, you're right there with them, and you're playing well at even strength, which is most of the game, most of the time. It's a good sign. And, against a team that's as good as the Bruins, it's funny saying that right now because I thought the Bruins weren't going to be good this season to start. But now they got, they have Marchand back, and he's already started off really well with 2 goals there. Yeah. And, McAvoy's just around the corner. The Bruins are the real deal again. And Red Wings, they lost 5-1. But like Logan said in his weekly, Detroit and Red Wings weekly there, the box score is very deceiving.
Yeah.
It wasn't a crazy dominant performance by the Bruins. Like I said, special teams was the difference. And if they can fix that the next time, they may win. So, yeah. And so in long story short, same thing as Devin. Yes and no. So if that's a cop out, whatever.
Two things I want to throw in here real quick.
Absolutely.
One, I'm with you, Matt. Yeah, aren't these guys supposed to be regressing? What the hell? I was lying too. But then also, let's not forget that the 3 goals the Bruins scored in the third period came within 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Like if that gets cleaned up, if they like come in or come out of the third with like a bit more fire or whatever, again, it's a 2-1 game instead of a 5-1 game. And I think that is kind of like the ultimate, like the box score looks way worse than it actually was because it basically came down to a 90-second span of time.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And, if it is a cop out, then all 3 of us are doing it because I'm saying yes and no as well. And for the exact same reasons, right? No, it doesn't look like they aren't ready because their 5-on-5 looks solid. They look like they can play with this team and sense any other team in the, in the division right now. But when it's special teams and you have their best players against, our best players or the Red Wings best players, right now, Boston has a much better top 5 and they can move the puck. They've played together for a very long time, even getting Krejci back, who was in the Czech Republic last year. He's been with that team for 14 years or so. So, I mean, they know how to play together. They know how to find space. They know where each other are going to be without the puck, and they can move the puck so well that when you have an aggressive penalty kill, I know I already mentioned this, but when you have an aggressive penalty kill against a team like that, it's very easy to get lost into open space. And that's what the Bruins did very well against the Red Wings. I believe it was Thursday night, right?
Yep.
And so, of course, when you have a team that can function at that high of a level, they're going to score when you have them the man advantage. And that's really what it came down to. So in that term, if the Red Wings are going to continuously take 4 or 5 penalties a game, then no, they are not ready to hang yet. Yeah. But if they can tighten that up and maybe limit it to 1 or 2, or, get back to playing a little more of a passive style against a really, really good puck moving team like that, it doesn't even have to be that much more passive, but just a little bit more so they can cover some of those backdoor opportunities more, then I think absolutely they will have a chance to hang with these types of teams. All right. Well, that's going to send us off on our first rush. So first question, Matt, I am coming to you. Although Dominic Kubalik is on pace for 117 points, he has yet to eclipse the 47-point mark. Do you expect him to get past 50?
Yes, I think he's going to be hitting around 60. And, I'll say goals too. I think he's going to be hitting like 25 goals.
Okay. All right. I love it. Devin, do you think Kubalik will eclipse the 50-point mark?
Yeah, I think he's got to cool off somewhere along the road here, but I do think that what he's doing is somewhat sustainable. So I'll say he eclipsed 50, might end up in like the 55 range.
Yeah, I think not only is he going to cool off a little bit, but once Bertuzzi comes back, once Verona comes back, he's going to slowly drop back down the lineup and not be with as much firepower. I think he gets 50. I'll put him in that 55 to 60 range as well. But heck, if he could be 100-point getter, why not? That'd be a huge return for Yzerman in the offseason.
$2.5 million.
Yeah.
All right. Who has been the bigger disappointment? Joe Veleno with 1 goal in 6 games, or Philip Zadina with 0 points in 5 games? Matt, coming to you.
It's a tough one. I'm gonna say Joe Veleno because we don't really have really big expectations for Zadina anyway. Usually. So I mean, is it surprising that he's not doing anything?
Not really.
Not really.
All right. Devin, who's the bigger disappointment?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like an expectations thing. Yeah. I think Veleno's the more disappointing one. And I'll even take it a step further and say that, like, as per usual, Zadina's advanced numbers are like good, but it's just not producing goals.
Yeah.
Whereas Veleno's analytics are not very great, and
Right.
he's got the one goal. So at least Zadina's doing the right things, but that's kind of his MO at this point. So yeah, I'll say Veleno.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Veleno as well. I kind of thought this was gonna be unanimous, but at the same time, I know we kind of have lowered our expectations greatly for Zadina, but he really did need. We've talked about him many times needing to have this season as a breakout year, and it's not looking that way. But I think I'm still gonna go with Veleno being a little bit more of a bigger disappointment. Let us know down in the comments about Kubalik's point totals and who is the bigger disappointment between Veleno and Zadina in your mind. Again, leave those comments down below. All right, we're going to take a quick breath and reset the show. This is the Grind Line. I am Kyle Knopp here with Devin Little and Matthew Zator, and we're talking Red Wings hockey. Before we get back into it, this show is brought to you by Sports Fan Side Hustle, a new digital course that teaches passionate sports fans how to make a lucrative side income off of their love of the game. Get off the sidelines and into the game with a course that will teach you more than 14 different and easy to start methods that any sports fan, even ones with little to no experience in writing, podcasting, video production, collectibles, or marketing, can use to make a steady part-time or full-time income. All you need is the internet, a computer, a passion for sports, and a few hours a week. Go to sportsidehustle.com to get the absolutely free startup guide that will explain 4 keys to unlocking this income opportunity. Again, that's sportsidehustle.com, and get started today. All right, now that we are back into it, let's talk our 2 favorite sophomores. Mo Seider and Lucas Raymond are off to slow starts this season. Are you concerned? Why or why not? Matt, I'm going to come to you first.
I'm going to say no, I'm not concerned. I mean, this is usually expected for sophomores. I mean, they go through a little bit of a slow, even guys that don't have sophomore slumps, like at the end of the season, you said, oh, they have a sophomore slump. They usually start out slow. It happened with Elias Pettersson in Vancouver. His second season wasn't as good as his first when he went on a crazy run in his first month. He hasn't repeated that yet again. So, I mean, this season he's starting a little bit around the same, but, they're just too talented. They're not going to, all of a sudden be like, oh, Seider's a bust now. He only had one good season. He's too good. I mean, the thing is again, it's the fact that people know what he does. Teams come in, they're now game planning. Mo Seider, we got to make sure he doesn't burn us. Same thing with Lucas Raymond. You got to make sure he's not going to score. Mm-hmm. And last season, they may have surprised people. And now teams come in with that, these are the guys on the whiteboard now.
Yeah.
Right at the top. Yeah. They're not looking at these, some other guys now. It's them. You have to shut them down if you're going to win. So, I mean, that's what's good about the Red Wings having so much more depth this season, like Kubaliks, Perron, guys like that, because, you don't really have to panic as much with them not producing. And Seider's a defenseman. So, he's, he did put up a lot of points last season, and that's a big thing. He has to do that again. But I don't have any worries that they're going to get going eventually. Even Raymond last season, he started slowing down towards the, mid to late season. He wasn't scoring at the same clip. But I think he'll turn it around. You still see those amazing plays every game. You're still seeing him get chances. The goals will start going in for him. So I'm not worried.
Absolutely. I agree with that, Matthew. Devin, what about you? Seider and Raymond off to slow starts. Are you concerned? Why or why not?
Yeah, I'm also not concerned, mostly because, like what Matt said, they're both too talented to let this be a running theme heading into late this season. But also, I'll say a couple things for each. Raymond, since the Bertuzzi injury happened, he hasn't been playing with Larkin. He's been on that second line. And while I do think Raymond, in order to take the next step as a player, he needs to be able to produce without Larkin, there is something to be said for the fact that, most of his success last year came when he was stapled to Larkin's hip. So if he doesn't have his most familiar line mate and, are probably the best offensive player besides him on the team, on the same line as him, the kind of onus is basically on him to make everything happen. And I don't know if he's there yet. That's where you hope he gets to eventually. But, as a 19 going on 20-year-old kid, it's not there yet, but it's okay. Give it time. I would worry if it's like, heading into the new year and Raymond still is hasn't broken out, because at that point you're going to get into a Zadina thing. But we'll cross the bridge when we get there. I don't think we'll even cross that bridge. Seider, and this might be a controversial thing to say, I'm actually glad he's struggling. And I'll tell you why. Last year was kind of easy for him in the sense that he never really dipped down. He was dominant basically the entire season. That's why he won the Calder Trophy. He had, great offensive numbers, like Matt said, and he also was dominant defensively. Nothing really gave him trouble. I think that to start the season, this has been humbling for Mo Seider. And I think for a 21-year-old kid, I think a healthy dose of humility can be a good thing. I think this is showing him that it's not going to be easy as easy as it was last year. People are wise to him now. Like you said, he's the guy on the whiteboard now that they say, you got to shut this guy down. And they're doing it now. So this is going to force him to elevate his game. This is going to force him to become the defenseman that everyone's dreaming of him becoming, because he has no choice. He can't just rest on his laurels anymore. Like I said, I don't want to see this prolonged. I don't think anyone wants to see this prolonged. I don't think it will be prolonged. But I think, like I said, a healthy dose of humility can be a good thing. And as long as Seider handles it the right way, and as long as Raymond handles this the right way, they're going to come out of this as better players for it.
Fantastically said there, Devin. And if I may add a point to you, who is currently attached to Dylan Larkin's hip right now? Kubalik, right?
Yeah.
And he is producing at the pace that Raymond was. So, yeah, I think as the lineup returns to normal and, Raymond moves back up, Kubalik kind of drops back down, you're going to see that those roles kind of switch. And I think Raymond's going to be just fine. And then, like you said, Devin, with Seider getting this kind of, I don't want to call it a punch to the mouth, but kind of a wake-up call to just say, like, hey, yeah, last year you had to drag Danny DeKaiser around all over the ice, but it was a pretty easy year for you. This year, now teams are avoiding you, going to the other side, making you have to, play a little more of a full scale defensive mode instead of just, okay, that's their one defenseman and he might have help, he might not. We don't know today, but he's got to play more of a complete game. And I think that's a good way to develop him this season. And I don't have any concerns right now. And we're, like we said, only 10% into the season. There's still a ton of hockey left to be played. I see both of these guys getting back into their groove and right now, no concern for me. But like you said, Devin, if we get to January and Raymond still only has a handful of points, then we can start discussing about whether he should be coming to see you in Grand Rapids for a week or two. All right. Well, it is Halloween weekend, so we're going to do a little bit of trick or treating around here. So I'm going to ask you guys for one trick, a non-sustainable trend the Red Wings have been keeping up so far that will not continue, and one treat, one trend that should continue throughout the season. And Devin, let's come to you first. Give me a trick or treat. Actually, give me both. Give me a trick and treat.
This is trick and treat. Yeah. I'm gonna tell kids to go door to door and say that just so they don't talk. So we'll start with the trick, the thing that is not sustainable. Oli Mata's scoring pace. He's got like just under a point per game going right now. He had 8 points all of last season. He's just about matched that in the early going this season with the Red Wings. It's kind of funny because he is D partners with Hronik, and Hronik's whole deal is that like he gets points. So Mata's kind of stealing his thunder. He's supposed to be the defense first guy. I don't think he got the memo. But yeah, no, I don't expect him to have a 50-point season. It would be like easily his biggest point totals of his career. I
Oh,
don't see that happening.
absolutely.
And then my treat thing that I do think will continue, I'm gonna say the overall dominance and just strength of the penalty kill. I think that I said this last week where Bob Bugner, who is the assistant coach who oversees the penalty kill, when he was head coach of the Sharks had a top 10 penalty kill every year, and they were a lottery team. So I think that the Red Wings have the right guys in place. And let's not forget that Derek Lalonde did the exact same thing for the Tampa Bay Lightning too.
Yeah,
True.
So, they've got two guys who ran really good penalty kill units. I believe that what they're doing is sustainable. And as they kind of refine it and make the adjustments they have to make, obviously this game against Boston was probably a little bit of a wake-up call. But like I said, the right guys are there that will make those adjustments and will have them continuing to perform well, because it's watching the penalty kill has been a lot of fun this season so far, save for that Boston game. And usually watching penalty kills aren't fun because your team is down a man. But like I said last week, they get chances on the penalty kill. That's awesome. They're playing aggressive, they're playing smart. If they can play smart more often, there's no doubt in my mind that this will be a sustainable trend.
All right. I'm going to jump in just because my trick was having a top 10 PK.
All right.
Not to take away from anything you just said there, Devin, because you did lay out your reasons why very well. I just think that for whatever reason, this team is going to fall a little bit in the PK. Now, I don't think they're going to be that bad. I think they could still be a top 15, top 20 team. I just don't see them hanging around the top 10 throughout the full season. Now, I would gladly eat a plate of crow if that were happen. So please feed that to me, Red Wings.
Some candy corn, maybe.
Yeah, my trick. My treats. I see the Red Wings hanging around the middle of the league table throughout the season. They seem to really be playing well as a full unit, and their 5-on-5 play has been pretty substantial compared to the last couple of seasons. So as long as they are cutting back on some of those dumb penalties, I think this team could really be hovering around the that 16 to 20 spot maybe, and even be knocking on the door for a potential playoff spot. So that's going to be my trick, my treat. And I know that's kind of reverse of what you said, Devin. So it'll be fun to keep tabs on those as well. Matthew, give us your trick and your treat for the Red Wings this season, I guess.
Well, my trick is Kubalik's 47 goal pace.
Yeah.
Now I'm sure everyone will be like, yeah, that's great, 47 goal. He won't hit that. He did hit 30 a few seasons ago, but it's not that far off, I guess. 17 goals, quite a few actually.
Yeah.
So that's quite
Zadina.
It's quite a bit. So 47 goal pace, 117 point pace, that's not going to be sustainable. So that's my trick. I mean, it'd be great for him to do it, but I don't think it will happen. Treat is, I was going to say, the penalty kill. And so I will go on my second one. So that's different. I'm going to say the solid goaltending tandem of Husso and Nedeljkovic.
Yeah.
Husso's been really good. I mean, this past week he had another stellar game. I love Logan's call out saying, look out, Shesterkin. There's he's like, don't tell him.
Don't tell him I said that. Unless he does, then tell him I said
then tell him all.
So, but yeah, and Nedeljkovic has been pretty solid, save the Boston game, but the Boston game, yeah. I mean, you don't really want to have to kill penalties, and your goaltender is usually behind the 8 ball when you're having to kill a penalty.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But that tandem has been as good as everyone kind of thought it could be so far this season. So that I think is going to be sustainable. I think they're two really good goaltenders going to be able to play off each other and, split that 1A, 1B and be really good for the whole season. So really excited to see them continue that.
great call out there, Matthew. I agree. I think this tandem is looking extremely solid right now. And I don't see any reason why they can't keep it up. And like, you hear a lot of times your best penalty killer has to be your goalie, right? And when you have two solid guys back there, it allows for the aggressiveness from the rest of the team on that penalty kill, because they know, most of the time, if someone is going to get behind them, the goalie will be able to come up with a huge save. So, I hope for my personal reasons, my trick of that top 10 PK turns out to be wrong, and that the two of you are way more right than I am. But please let us know your tricks and your treats down in the comment section, and feel free to light me up for having the opposite of my two panelists here. All right. Well, that's going to lead us to our second rush of the game day. Show, whatever. It's been a long week, as we've all mentioned many times today. Out of Raymond and Seider, who needs a breakout game more? Matthew, I'm coming to you first.
Raymond. I think he needs to have one of those games where he gets the hat trick like he did last season. And I think that'll get it going. Even just a couple goals in a game, I think will get him going, get his confidence back. And Seider's going to be, it's harder for him to have a breakout game because the fact he usually won't put up a ton of points in one game. So I'm going to say Raymond has to have one more.
True. Very true. And I guess when I wrote this, and you guys didn't see it ahead of time, so when I was talking about a breakout game, I don't necessarily mean points, just more like who needs to have that like, number one star dominant game to really kind of get them going. But I agree. I'm going to go with Raymond as well. Devin, Raymond Seider, who needs that dominant game more?
Yeah, I'm going to say Raymond too. And I kind of echo what I said a little bit ago. There's a player on the team who does all the right things but can't put up points. I'm sure Raymond sees it too. He doesn't want to be that. He wants to do all the right things and get the points. So he needs it. I think Seider he can thrive without having like a big impact on the box score. If he has a good defensive game, he's gonna, that's enough for him in theory, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point there, Devin. I mean, I think we all agree Raymond really, really needs a game to get going, where Seider can still kind of go through the paces and then pick it up eventually, more so than maybe Lucas will if he doesn't start putting points up. All right. The Minnesota Wild and Washington Capitals storm into Detroit, and then the Wings go on the road to Buffalo this next week. How do the Wings fare over the next 3 games? Oh, sorry, I didn't pick who's going first. Devin, you're going first.
I'm going to say they win 2 out of 3. I also think that game against Buffalo is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree with that. Matt?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're going to win all 3.
Ooh. I like that. I
think they're capable. I think they're capable of winning all 3. I mean, Minnesota's still struggling to get their game together.
Capitals are struggling away from
Washington,
home.
same thing. Buffalo, I think, is the only one that I think they could lose, because Buffalo's been one of the more surprising teams so far, and seems like their goaltending seems to be able to get them out of trouble, which no one thought was possible. So, but I'm going to say they're going to squeak that one out too.
All right. I'm going to say they're going to get points in all 3 games. I think they'll win 2. But to kind of go a little bit different, I'm going to say they're going to get points in all 3 games, and we'll go there. Once again, let us know in the comment section your thoughts. Who out of Raymond or Seider needs a breakout game first, and how the Wings will fare this upcoming week. And if we haven't convinced you with our first plug, sign up for the Morning Skate, the morning hockey newsletter delivered to your inbox Monday through Friday. The Morning Skate is the best way to stay on top of all of your NHL news, including when the Canucks win their first game. So make sure to sign up today at morningskate.io. Sorry, Matt, I had to do it. All right, that's it for this edition of The Grind Line. From all of us here at the Hockey Writers and our team here on The Grind, we will see you next week.